Right Plus News, I'm John Abba. Breaking news coming out of Mississippi. According to outlets NBC News and ABC News, the GPS data and audio of the boat Nolan Wells and friends traveled to on Horn Island with has now been released. According to reports provided by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the boat would leave where it was docked at approximately 9:56 a.m. that morning on July 4th.
As people are lying, for the past several weeks, we have been trapped in a labyrinth. If you've been following the disappearance of Nolan Wells, you know exactly what I mean. We have spent our time parsing witness accounts, analyzing attorney statements, and dissecting family memories. We have been told what someone thought they heard, what someone remembered seeing, and what someone claimed happened on that boat. But here is the brutal reality of criminal investigation. Human memory is the most fragile, fallible, and easily manipulated evidence in existence. Not because people are lying, most of the time they aren't. It's because memory reconstructs itself every time it's retrieved. A witness recalling a chaotic afternoon 3 weeks later isn't playing back a recording. They're rebuilding it, filling gaps with assumption, smoothing over uncertainty with confidence they may not have actually felt in the moment. That's true of Nolan's friends. It's true of Katie. It's true of every account we've covered on this channel so far. Today, that changes. For the first time in this entire saga, we have moved beyond the subjective. We have finally obtained the hard, forensic, and entirely mechanical record of the boat that carried Nolan Wells to Horn Island on July 4th. This is the GPS data provided by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, obtained through CBS News. It doesn't have an agenda. It doesn't fear a grand jury. It doesn't have a reputation to protect. It simply records coordinates and time. And that distinction matters more than it might sound like on the surface. Because everything else in this case up to now has required you to decide who to believe. This doesn't. It's a machine, logging a location, automatically, independent of what anyone later chooses to say happened that day. Before we go further, if this is your first time here, welcome. This is Crime Uncovered. We track cases like this one carefully, verify everything before we say it, and update you the moment something real changes. If that's the kind of coverage you're looking for, consider subscribing. It genuinely helps this channel keep digging into cases the rest of the internet moves past too quickly. Let's look at the baseline. The standard account, given by Judge Ashley Cole and several others, has remained consistent for weeks. The group departed for Horn Island, they stayed on the water, and they returned because of a mechanical issue, specifically a failing bilge pump. According to the GPS data, the boat left its dock at 9:56 a.m. and arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. This part of the story is unremarkable. It looks like a standard holiday outing. CBS News has also separately confirmed that Nolan was not on the boat when it eventually left the island that afternoon, a detail that's been part of the public record for weeks, but which now sits alongside an actual timestamp instead of just a recollection. The return journey is where the scrutiny begins. The data shows the boat leaving the island at 4:31 p.m. and returning to the original departure dock. Now, pause here. Judge Cole previously stated that the group left the island around 4:30 p.m. due to the boat taking on water. For the first time, we have an independent technical timestamp that corroborates that departure time. That's not nothing. For weeks, that 4:30 window existed only as one family's account of what happened. Now there's a machine record that lines up with it. But we must be careful. Corroboration is not confirmation. Confirming that a boat moved at 4:30 p.m. does not confirm why it moved. It does not prove the bilge pump was failing, nor does it prove that Nolan made a voluntary decision to stay behind. Judge Cole's account bundled several claims into one narrative: the departure time, the mechanical justification, and Nolan's reported choice to remain on the island. The GPS data only verifies one piece of that bundle. The other two pieces are still exactly where they were before this data surfaced, unconfirmed. Here is where the investigation truly begins. Because the boat didn't end its day at 4:31 p.m. According to the GPS logs, after returning to the home dock, the vessel remained there for approximately 90 minutes. Then, at 5:52 p.m., the boat left the dock again. It traveled into Fort Bayou, spent 14 minutes in the waterway, and returned to the dock at 6:06 p.m. Then, at 7:19 p.m., the boat was moved again, this time to the Fort Bayou boat launch, before being trailered overland to the owner's residence in Biloxi. Walk through that sequence with me one more time, because the shape of it matters. Dock at 4:31, back out at 5:52 for a quick round trip. A third movement at 7:19, over an hour later, ending in the boat being hauled home for the night. That's not one departure and one return. That's three distinct, separately time-stamped movements on the exact evening Nolan Wells was still unaccounted for. Not a single witness account we have reviewed has mentioned these extra trips. Not Judge Cole's public statement. Not Elmore Wansley's account of retrieving keys. Not Javon Williams. Not Trassiston Shepard in any of his on-record statements to ABC News or Rolling Stone. In a case defined by a 13-hour delay before a formal search began, this is a massive, unaddressed, and unexplained gap. Could there be innocent explanations? Of course, fuel, equipment, or repairs. Fort Bayou itself is an ordinary navigable waterway in the area. There's nothing remote or unusual about the destination itself. If the bilge pump issue Judge Cole described was genuine, a short trip to check on it, refuel, or move the boat somewhere it could be worked on isn't inherently suspicious. But an innocent explanation isn't the same as a confirmed one. We are still waiting for that explanation. Who was on that boat during these trips? Was it the owner alone? Or was anyone else present? Did it have anything to do with Nolan at all? Or was it a completely unrelated errand that simply happened to occur the same evening? Right now, nobody outside a small circle of people actually knows, and the public record doesn't offer an answer. Until these questions are answered, this remains the most suspicious and most simply unexplained thread in the entire case. The existence of this data changes the burden of explanation. Before this week, the people involved could avoid questions by claiming they didn't remember specific details, but you cannot forget a GPS record. This data provides a fixed, objective skeleton for the entire investigation, a structure that every witness statement must now be measured against, rather than measured only against each other. That's a meaningfully different position than existed even a week ago, when almost any open question in this case could be met with a shrug or a claim of hazy memory. Does what any given witness described that evening line up with when the boat actually left the dock? Does anyone's account explain or even acknowledge that second trip into Fort Bayou? A week ago, those questions weren't answerable. Now, at least in principle, they are. The Marine Resources Report also formally identifies the boat's owner, his mother, and another individual as being in cooperation with authorities, confirming that an adult presence is now part of the official, recorded history of this investigation, not just a claim made at a press conference. Elmore Wansley has said publicly he believes an adult was present on the boat that day. This report doesn't confirm his specific version of events, but it does move the broader question of adult involvement from a family assertion into the documented investigative record. The inclusion of the boat owner's mother in that cooperation is notable on its own. It suggests investigators, even at this early marine resources stage, were already looking beyond the immediate group of friends and into the surrounding adult family connected to the vessel itself. It's worth being precise about the limits of this report too. It covers the period through July 5th, the point at which the Jackson County Sheriff's Office formally assumed lead investigative responsibility. Whatever follow-up occurred after that handoff, including any explanation for the Fort Bayou movements, is not captured in what CBS obtained. The absence of a public explanation is not the same as investigators being unaware of one. It may simply mean the public hasn't been told yet. Quick pause here. If you're finding this breakdown useful, if separating what's actually confirmed from what's still speculation is the kind of coverage you want more of, that's exactly what this channel is built around. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next update whenever there's something real to report. While the GPS data gives us the where, the legal maneuvers give us the how. A grand jury referral is now on the horizon. District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath has confirmed that once the Jackson County Sheriff's Office completes its investigation, the case will be presented to a grand jury. It's worth being precise here too. A grand jury referral is standard procedure in this county for any unnatural or suspicious death. It is not by itself an indication that criminal charges are imminent. The DA's office has said as much directly. Simultaneously, the family's private investigation, led by attorney Eric Hertz, is acting as a necessary redundancy. Hertz reports receiving between 50 and 100 tips a day, some from witnesses who are only talking to the family's team, not the police. His stated goal isn't to keep that information separate, it's to get those callers to eventually cooperate with investigators directly, using his team as a channel for people who might otherwise stay silent. And then there is the phone. Both sides have agreed to a joint, simultaneous inspection of Nolan's device. The family's experts and the district attorney's experts examining it together at the same time to eliminate disputes over chain of custody or evidence tampering down the line. This directly addresses a concern that had lingered for weeks. Sheriff Ledbetter told ABC News that Crump's team had not yet turned the phone over to investigators. This joint arrangement closes that specific gap, and it does so in a way that should hold up regardless of what the phone ultimately reveals, because neither side will be able to later claim the other's process was compromised. We have to talk about the cost of this pursuit. Ben Crump has walked back the claim about the audio on the viral video, acknowledging that the claim Nolan could be heard saying, "Give me my freaking phone," is unresolved and contradicted by another witness. That other witness is Treseston Shepard, a close friend of Nolan's, who told ABC News directly that the voice on the recording is his own, the product of an altercation with a stranger, not a confrontation involving Nolan at all. Crump has said his team now has audio experts attempting to determine definitively whose voice is actually on that recording. This matters beyond the specific factual question. That claim anchored a significant portion of the public's suspicion surrounding this case for weeks. Hearing it now described as unresolved and directly contradicted by a named witness doesn't mean nothing happened on that video. But it does mean the specific claim that drove so much of the public narrative may not hold up the way it was originally presented. That's a correction worth carrying forward into how the rest of this case gets discussed. The family has also endured death threats and the digital violence of AI-generated misinformation, fabricated videos falsely depicting Christine Wansley, Nolan's mother, circulating online even as she prepares to bury her son. Crump has called this god-awful, and it's hard to describe it any other way. Christine, Nolan's mother, noted that communication from the sheriff's department had effectively ceased, with the last contact being a week prior via a text she initiated herself. Think about what that gap actually implies. In a case that has drawn national civil rights attorneys, sitting members of Congress, and sustained media coverage, the direct line of communication between the grieving parents and the agency responsible for investigating their son's death had, by Christine's own account, gone almost completely quiet. This explains why they felt the need to build their own separate channel of information gathering, not as a substitute for the official investigation, but because waiting on updates that weren't reliably coming through official channels was no longer sustainable for a family in their position. The GPS data has given us an anchor. The grand jury referral has given us a process, and the family's resilience has given us a reason to keep watching. We are no longer waiting for memories to surface. We are waiting for the truth to be audited against the facts. This is Crime Uncovered. We don't guess. We verify. Thank you for staying with us. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update.